vibration. And we are back with another author interview, and I'm so excited for you to meet one of my favorites. Her name is Donna Moy, and there she is, the beautiful, the lovely Donna Moy. Hi, my dear.
Hi.
So I just want to introduce you real quick, and then I'm going to have you just talk about you and introduce our viewers to who you are. Donna is one of our 52 authors that has contributed to Raise Vibration, a weekly guide. And she is actually a very dear friend of mine. I've known her for a long time through the yoga studio in New York City. She's been through our teacher trainings. She's been an incredible teacher at our yoga studio, The Giving Tree, for many years. And just an all-around incredible human being. And so welcome, Donna. I'm so excited you could join. And those of you who are just watching for the first time, you are like, what are you talking about, authors? There is a book release happening in New York on June 26th, and it is 52 authors who have contributed their stories of resilience, something they've overcome, something that they learned in the process, so that it's kind of like a little chicken soup for the soul book combined with the artist's way, those of you who know that. But it's taking a lesson from being human, a personal story, the wisdom of every author, and then being able to go through with journaling prompts and personal reflections and weekly check-ins to make a real lasting difference in your life. So I'm so glad you're joining us, Donna. Will you just give us a little bit about yourself? And it's just beautiful to have you with me today.
Thank you so much, Margaret. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's such an honor to have been invited to be a part of this co-creation. And I'm just full of gratitude and greetings, community, and thank you for the beautiful introduction. I have, for those of you who do not know or are not familiar, I actually have background in my professional background was after I had achieved a Bachelor of Arts in Accounting and Economics. I had gone into tax accounting, and I was an accountant for a number of years before moving into PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, for 14 years. And I was just super duper stressed out at the time. And the only thing that was getting me through my sanity was yoga, the practice of yoga. And one day after getting laid off from the company, I was like, what am I going to do? And I came across this sign that said, yoga teacher training. And my first yoga teacher training was actually at the Bayside Yoga Tai Chi studio. So I got my Hatha and Vinyasa certification there, and I loved it. And I started hearing about the chakras in that first certification, and I was really fascinated with it. And after I graduated that, I started to look around for other studios to practice yoga. And that's when I came across Anne Margaret and Anthony at the Giving Tree Yoga Studio in Astoria. And as soon as I walked in, it was just this inexplicable vibe that was just feeling like this is home. And I started teaching yoga, and I teach,
we were so glad you found us, Donna.
Thank you.
So glad you found us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's just been it's been a really enlightening experience and journey for me. Not just as a teacher, but as an individual, to be, surrounded by such light to, look inside my soul as I was, on this journey. And as I grew as a teacher, it was showing me reflecting on my own life in a lot of different ways. And Margaret invited me to write for this book, and I was just like, me? Really? Wow, okay. And I actually really didn't realize how much I enjoy writing, because prior to being part of the book, I was also involved in the New Moon Women's Circle, and I was writing weekly articles for the online site, and that was really a lot of fun. And I didn't realize that, you know, in journaling and in writing, I think you start to learn a lot about yourself. You know, and that's what I found.
I'm laughing because you've been subjected to several of my teacher trainings. And one of the main key components to the teacher trainings is a lot of journaling meditations to take time to really get to know yourself, because I don't want to create little mini me's as teachers. My desire with all my teacher trainings is to invoke the unique wisdom and teacher within each of my trainees. And man, it just was such a pleasure watching you blossom through all of those trainings, and just also see you put into words your story about one of the most challenging times of your life.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of self-exploration. So I'm so grateful for each of those opportunities. I mean, I always call myself a forever student. I'm so hungry for knowledge. And I remember before I even considered going into my second 200-hour yoga teacher training with you, I was like, should I do another? I was like, I don't know. I was like, but it was really inviting, and it was the kind of like, I felt like this voice inside of me that was just like, you know, it's really an opportunity to grow and learn more, and also not just to learn about myself, but to provide another opportunity for me to, in that sharing in a testimonial way for people who may face similar things in their lives. So it's just been...
Well, one of the things that blows me away about you, Donna, and why I so appreciate your presence in my life and just your friendship, is you really do embody the student archetype beautifully, in a way that is always hungry, always open, always considerate of the next level for you. And what I found is I just had no idea. I had no idea what this book was going to be. It wasn't like a desire of mine. It just kind of dropped in at the beginning of the lockdowns, just to like how to help people. You are always one of those people that I know who is looking to help people, who's looking, how can she develop herself in a way that makes herself more of service and more of a resource for other people. And, you know, when we were looking at that time in March 2020, those of us who are teachers or healers or trying to serve people in some way, there's the first thing in our hearts, or just good human beings, is saying, how can I help? And when I went to seminary, that was actually a book that we read, was how can I help? Like, let that be your question, is like, how can I be of service? How can I help? And I just thought, okay, and I kind of dropped in, get people to focus on their resilience, get people to focus on what they've already overcome. We are just reminders for one another about who we are, because we forget that we've been through so much. So I was just so honored when I reached out to my community and just said, hey, who wants to be a part of this and write a story? Under 1,000 words. So many of my authors were so mad at me for that, because they were like, 1,000 words? Like, how do we put my story in 1,000 words? And I'm like, I know I'm asking a lot to kind of condense it, but man, like, each one of your stories is just so beautiful. And I would love for you just to kind of share with the audience right now who are watching, because these interviews are just a byproduct of the book, to help people get to know these incredible people, these incredible authors of the story. Why did you choose this particular story? Because Donna, even just letting go of your career as an accountant, and I got to see like front row for that, you know, that transition. And that was a challenge. Like, why this story when you had so many other stories you could have shared about your own resilience?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. And I'm sorry, before I answer that, I'm seeing Danielle and Pamela. Hello.
And Pamela and Nina. I know.
I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to invite anybody. I was just sort of like, okay, hop on the call. Yeah, okay.
That's okay. That's all right. We're so grateful you're joining us. Hi, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, I just thank you for you guys for listening and tuning in. I and Margaret, I know that you've got such a busy schedule, and when you just kind of like popped over the questions, and I was like, well, I'm just going to do what I do. What I know how to do best is just speak from the heart. So this is no preparation. Yes. This is totally improvisation here.
Listen, Donna, you have such a huge heart. Just give it to us.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that question. I did struggle with what I was going to choose to write about initially. But then I had just, at the time I was just recovering from a serious car accident. I was walking as a pedestrian, and I was struck by an SUV. And when I was asked to write, I was like, I think I'm going to write about this story, because it's actually something that, I went through a lot, not just through the physical injury of it, but all of the ramifications that resulted after that. Doctors had diagnosed me with all sorts of different things, where I had to see a neurologist, neuropsychologist, chiropractor. I mean, just the whole nine. It was just, I was seeing acupuncturist and pain management specialist. Couldn't sleep for hours. Couldn't find comfortable positions to sleep in. It was just a really trying time. And what I remembered thinking and really appreciating is that the community and the yoga community was just incredible. Just the outpour of love and support, and people praying for me, and it was really beautiful. So I really wanted to share that, and I'm getting a little emotional talking about it.
A little bit cleansed. You're loved, Donna. You're loved, and when you give out, you get back 10%. And I'm really glad that you shared this story in particular, too, because we have two authors who shared about TBIs. And when you go through a traumatic brain injury, I have not had the same experience that you guys have had with that. But I love that you share with us, who have not had that experience, that it's like an injury that nobody really can see.
Yeah.
And it's something that initially, like, I could see your shoulder in the sling, when you would come into the studio, right. and how you started teaching first without doing the adjustments, because that's what you could do. And that you made that a lesson in itself, that you show up however you are, wherever you are, and you do your best. And what's beautiful about yoga, and we've had these conversations millions of times, you and I, about like, you don't show up to perform on your mat. You show up to practice. You show up to be with wherever you are. Let it be a moving meditation, a moving prayer, a moving intention, to connect with yourself, to connect with God, universe, however you want to give that name. But also just be where you are, be present. And this, to share with the readers your experience, and also our other author who shared her experience, it just helps us to remember that we don't know the battle that each other are fighting, like whether it be a TBI and we can't see it. So people aren't going, oh, how's your shoulder? Because they see the sling. They don't know that you're having to really trust yourself again, to relearn so many things again. And, in the book, I link every story to a chakra teaching, a teaching about our patterns, the way that we relate to ourselves, or work, relationships, our physical body. And yours is the sixth chakra that I chose, because what you really shared is like, how do you trust yourself again? Like, how do you relate to something and redefine who you are? So there's so many lessons in your story, and I can't wait for people to read it, obviously. But what's the main message that you, as the author of this story, want your listeners, the readers, to take away?
I think the biggest thing that I found in writing that story, and really the thing that helped me pull through, is to come from a place of gratitude, right? Every day we're gifted. Every day that we're able to wake up is a gift from God. And no matter how traumatic your experience is, no matter how difficult things seem,
yeah,
you can still persevere and get through the hardships. and get through the sleepless nights of, I'm in so much pain, I can't sleep, and I can't find a comfortable position to sleep in. And people don't know what I'm going through because they can't see the cast, or they can't understand what TBI really is, and I was, so the neuropsychologist at the time, he had invited me to a group as part of the, like a group therapy too. It's for other people who are also going through the same thing. And I remember, I'm kind of getting emotional now talking about it, because I remember other people describing their experience about how other people outside of it who don't have it, don't understand and don't realize, somebody could be at the cashier and, wanting to give their change, and they're just kind of like stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not the only one going through that, or like, even when I got to describing it, at the time, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I went all the way from Long Island to Queens, and I left the house keys, and like, people are like, oh, I was forgetting my keys. And I'm like, okay, it's like, it's just like, to have it happen like repetitively was just like really something to battle with and kind of get myself through. And I think that the message I want to share with others through writing that story and sharing that story is really looking for the silver lining. The silver lining for me was that God kept me alive.
Yes.
And it could have been a lot worse. It was as bad as it was, as bad as all the suffering was for me. It still could have been worse. And I was given another chance. And I think that part of sharing the story is a chance to have people understand or really look for that silver lining in whatever situation they're going through. That's the message I think that I came to as I was writing it.
Yeah. It definitely comes across. Because I love that you said gratitude, and that is linked with the sixth chakra, because the sixth chakra is all about how we perceive life, how we trust ourselves, how we really choose, either consciously or unconsciously, the filters through which we're perceiving our reality. And gratitude is something that's thrown around all the time, isn't it? It almost feels like it's cheapened, the word, because we're like, just be grateful, be grateful, be grateful. And it almost sometimes feels like, I know for a lot of my students or my coachees, initially it kind of feels like putting icing on the mud cake, and it's like, how can I be grateful for this car accident like I went through? And it's like, our egos would never choose this. And if we're in our right mind, we would never choose this. But we have so many things that we can't control in our lives. But we have every control over how we perceive them. The more we sculpt our brain, the more we are able to intentionally choose those filters. So you pointing to gratitude, pointing to community, you had people around you who could remind you who you were, like your gift of teaching, your gift of just being Donna and being loving presence around anybody who's ever around you. That when you forget that, you are reminded by the people around, but then you're also diligently in the physical pain of suffering, able to really choose to honor that you're given another chance, that God kept you here. Like you didn't leave your physical body. Like you're still here. I'll never forget when I saw Christopher Reeve, and I know I've shared this with you before, but maybe not the people watching, that when I saw Christopher Reeve years ago at one of the first Yoga Journal conferences, Christopher Reeve, those of you who don't know, was the original Superman, like the epitome of the male specimen, right? Yeah, and because he fell off a horse, he went through this equestrian accident, he couldn't move a single muscle in his body. He was wheelchair bound. He was able to speak, but he had to consciously take a breath for like 3 to 5 seconds and then deliver his next line. So it was riveting. I mean, I was blown away seeing him, because here was the epitome of male physical prowess and wheelchair bound and unable to even speak freely like you and I are. But just every breath was intentional. And that's, I feel like one of the big takeaways of your story that the readers are going to really get is life is precious. And we have everything to do with how we meet our obstacles and overcome them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember you sharing that story in the yoga teacher training, and I remember the first time hearing that story, it was just kind of like heart-wrenching, because you're a superhero, you know, and then like, and even, you know, not just from the story that you shared about being there and seeing that, but, you know, knowing that with the whole thing where, you know, the stem cell research and having him being so difficult to talk, and it's like, it's heart-wrenching, and it's like, wow, you know, it's like, if Superman, our superhero, is like, you know, in such a vulnerable state, but still, you know, struggling to get a word out. And, you know, it's just, it's inspiring. It's inspiring. And
it's like he became honestly, he became a new superhero for me. You know, it was no longer like Superman who could fly and save and be super strong physically. He's a new superhero. Like he was more of a superhero for me, just watching him and his courage to persevere, to continue on. So many of us who go through really difficult things in our life, we just feel like we can't do it anymore. Like it's like too much. And then we're reminded of who we are by our community, where we are given the perspective and also the inspiration from other people who have gone through, no one ever knows what it's like to be in our shoes, but have gone through their own struggle. And we go, okay, if he can do it, like maybe I can just keep going and see. And when we do that and we have that patience to persevere and keep going, the blessings start just avalanching into our lives. And,
absolutely.
I mean, you know, that's really the gift of keep going, just keep going. And so I have one more question I want to ask you. I know we're limited for time here now today, but, and people will just get to know you by, and I'll ask you to kind of give us where to find you, and as well as put in the notes for this live, where to find Donna. But the stories, that is so critical, is storytelling, sharing ourselves, being vulnerable, letting people into what we have gone through, sharing with other people what we've done. The power of storytelling is an ancient indigenous practice of passing on wisdom, processing emotion. And at the end of this book, the reader has the opportunity to write their own, to author their own story. And I love that. Isn't that cool? That was a friend.
I love
that. My idea.
That's
that was
so
not
great.
My idea, but it was like my friend Zia. She wrote the foreword for the book and then authored her own one and her own story, she and her husband. But I was like, that's brilliant. She's like, I think we should, you know, wisdom bomb drop. Paper at the end. I'm like, you're so right, of course. Like, how could I have not thought of that? That's what community is there for, right? I could do this much. We can do so much together. So that power of processing your own story, can you just share, the last question is just, what did you get out of writing this story yourself? What was your experience? Why might somebody reading this book take the time to put their own story down? Because so many people are like, oh, well, I haven't really done anything. I'm really overcome. And they'll compare their own lot to like some of the people that have the most dramatic stories. But for you, what did you get out of it?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, I think that it's, for me, I think that having the opportunity to write and to journal and to come with this story is a chance and opportunity to reflect on the experience that you have. And, you know, we spoke a little bit about this with the gratitude, but also to see the blessing, to see that everything is a gift. It doesn't have to be, you know, all flowers and rainbows, you know, even the hard and difficult circumstances, that's still a blessing. It's still a gift, and still to reflect on that. Sometimes, like, when we're going through hard times, it's hard to see the gift. It's hard to see the blessing. Like, why is this so hard right now? Like, why am I going through this? You know, so to to answer your question, I think that when I had to sit down and think about, you know, what I wanted to write about and how my experience helped me to pull through, it was a story that I felt that I wanted to share. And it's really funny because as a tie-in too, I recently heard this song, and it's an old song, but I was like, wow, I wish I had if I had a musical thing to connect to my story, it would be that song. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Never gonna get me down.
Going.
Yes. I love it. What is that? I don't know who sang that song.
I don't remember who sang it, but
put it in the notes if you know, Chubbawamba or some sort of thumping. I don't know. Anthony was.
I don't remember who sang it, but now it's I think about that, and it's and you know what, the hard times will keep coming, right? So
yeah, exactly.
there are storms. There is pandemic. There's this. There's that. There's unfortunately wars happening, and trauma all around the world, and it'll keep coming at you, and there are highs and lows. And I just think that, if you can pull through and persevere and just keep going, go forward. That's the message that I think.
Yeah, that reminds me of that Japanese proverb that is very simple, like they all are, right? Fall down 7 times, get up 8.
That's right. Oh my God, Danielle! I think is it Chumbawamba?
Chumbawamba. Yes, thank you, Danielle. Yeah. That's it.
Of course, Danielle would know the musical connections. Always.
Of course, she would.
Her in the teacher training with us. She always knew the whoever the musicians are, all the artists and stuff. I love you, Danielle.
Amazing. And with the women's site that you would write for with Newman Women, we had a playlist. We had playlists that we put together for the themes. And that's actually on the back burner. You're already jumping ahead. You're giving things away, but it's fine. It's fine. But putting together ideas of keeping our vibration high, music is such a powerful way to do that. So I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that you dropped us with a song we can listen to also complement your story. So it's perfect. Donna, I just want to thank you for being here, jumping on this quick interview with me today, and just giving our readers and listeners the opportunity just to get to know you better. Where can they find you? Do you have a website, your handle, anything like that you can just share real quick so that they know where to find you?
Yes. Thank you for asking. Yeah. It's such an honor, by the way. Thank you again for inviting me to be a part of the book. Inviting me to get on to hop on this call. It's really exciting.
I can't wait to see you at the release party.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm under Yoga with Donna. So it's W. It's a W, just like a W abbreviated instead of the word with. So it's Yoga _W _Donna. So Yoga with Donna. I think once you put in yoga and then you start to write W, you might see the Donna pop up. So
yoga _W _Donna.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yoga with Donna. And I have I'm kind of having in the works a website maybe coming up. So that's just kind of in construction sort of.
Well, they can find you. Oh, of course, right? Those things take
time.
Trying
to figure all that out.
Well, thanks again, sweetie. And please go check out Donna, take a class with her, find out where she's teaching. She's amazing. And thanks so much for joining us for another one of these author interviews. It's just a delight spending time with you. And those red glasses are working for you, girl. I love them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
DM me, reach out to me. Love you, and Margaret. Thank you again for everything that you do. Raising the vibration in this world is such a delight, and having you in this world, and it's such a blessing and honor to know you. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. We're doing it together, right? And all of you watching, until next time, keep raising the vibration, everybody. Okay. Bye.